question was asked of me by a lot of people, actually, to do this video. They wanted to know, what is the difference between the Annunaki and the Neteru? Let me first lay a little foundation for those people that probably don't know anything about neither one of these groups, or either one of these groups. The Annunaki is basically a group of beings that were given this title of Annunaki. And the title means those who from the heavens came to earth. So the term Annunaki means those from the heavens who came to earth, or who were sent from the heavens or the heavenly order to the earth. This is the Annunaki. Mostly, the Annunaki consist of Syrians, beings from Sirius. This is, when you talk about Annunaki, where most of them come from. Now, some Annunaki, when you talk about Annunaki, you could be speaking of Pleiadians as well. You could be speaking of Pleiadians when you talk about Annunaki. But it simply means any being that was sent from the heavenly order, from the order of the heavens to earth, is considered an Annunaki. And these were beings that were responsible for creating and fashioning man in their image and after their likeness. Because you have different types of Annunaki, but you have a particular class of Annunaki that look like humans, that act like humans, that do things like humans, that have emotions like humans, that fight, that do things, that war with each other. When you read the Gilgamesh epics, you read about the gods, you notice they have attributes like humans. The gods fight like humans, they do things like humans, because humans got all of their attributes and qualities from the gods. And the gods are basically just humans that are basically further advanced or millions of years ahead of humans. That's all most extraterrestrials are. And people have to really understand this. They're just beings that are further ahead than humans. That's all they are. There are a lot of times you're looking at you and looking at some ETs. You're looking at you in the future a lot of times, especially those people out there that are working with particular ETs and channeling ETs. If you're channeling ETs, a lot of times you're going to be channeling yourself. You're sending a message back to yourself because you had that technology in the future. And this is why you are getting contacted by aliens and other people aren't. Because you have a future incarnation in a civilization that is alien-like according to our civilization. So that's just another way of looking at the whole alien thing or whatever, before I even get into the rest of this video, is you're looking at yourself in the future. So when you talk about the Annunaki, you're talking about beings that came down. Now, a lot of people would like to say that the Neteru are beings that came down too, and the Neteru are equal to the Annunaki. And that basically the Neteru are just the Egyptian version or the Tamaraean version of the Sumerian Annunaki. It's not true. It's not true. This comes from having a lack of history behind the words. Again, when I've explained to you the history behind Annunaki, now let me explain to you the history behind the Neteru. From my research, of course. I'm not saying I have all the answers, just a perspective based on what I've studied, and this is probably helping someone out along the way. And if it's not, and you already know this information, just watch it and be entertained. You might learn something still. The Neteru are a group of, originally they were nature spirits. The Neteru were originally spirits, energies actually, even, dealing with forces of nature. The Neteru, and the power of the Neteru, is more powerful here on this planet than the power of working with Annunaki for humans. Now, the Annunaki is intelligent. Not saying that, but by far, I would rather work with the Neteru and the nature spirits for many reasons than I would rather work with beings from the future. Mainly because of the deception part. And they still have political agendas in the future. You'll find that out once you start working with them. They still have political agendas in the future. So I would rather work with forces that are indigenous to this planet and that are in the best interest of seeing this planet grow and becoming further. And as humans, we were basically made really the custodians of this planet and the vicegerents of this planet. So we are basically those particular beings that were sent to protect this planet. So I would rather form alliances with nature spirits, with animal spirits, with energies. These are beings. When you talk about the Neteru, you're talking about beings, animal spirits, higher beings than, not what I'm basically pointing out is they're not anthropomorphic. These beings, they're higher beings. when you talk about the Neteru. So that's the main difference or whatever, is they're beings of energy that eventually became anthropomorphized when humans began to associate themselves with the Neteru. See, at one point, the creators of the Egyptian mystery system, see, let's talk about the creators. So you have people that are initiated into the Egyptian mystery system, but a lot of those people weren't the creators of it. The creators of the Egyptian mystery system dealt with the animal spirits, dealt with the nature spirits, dealt with energy, you see, and they put and used animals as the first Neteru. You see, Heru was the falcon before he was turned into an anthropomorphic version. Tahuti, you see, he was the bird, like the ibis bird, before he was turned into a man, anthropomorphized. You see, the Tyreret was the hippopotamus. You see, that's dealing with the hippopotamus, the Tyreret. So, I mean, you got different beings that represent different things. Ra being represented by the lion. You see, and a lot of the Neteru were also associated with elements, the elementals, like air, earth, water, fire, and ether. You see, so you have the Neteru that were associated with elements as well as animals. And this is how the original ancients, when they worked with the Neteru, see, they worked with them from the mindset of working with animals, working with elements, working with water, not working with a human. See, now people look at it like, I'm working with the ancestors, and they thinking about a human, Tahuti. See, they don't realize that the Annunaki, when they came down, see, they put themselves in the seat of these gods or these ancestral forces and these energy forces. And this is how a lot of this anthropomorphic stuff came about, not even just in the Egyptian mystery system, but in a lot of the systems across the planet, a lot of the indigenous systems that use anthropomorphic spirits now were basically deceived by the aliens, and aliens put themselves up there. That's why you see the cat heads and all of that. Those were ETs that came down. These were beings that exist, you see, and they put themselves inside of those different systems, you see, and it's no different. Any system that has an anthropomorphic version probably goes back to an animal version or element version, or both. Either air, earth, water, fire, or a dragon, a bear, or some type of animal type of spirit that is indigenous to this planet, whether on the third or fourth dimension. Because you got to remember, some animals don't exist anymore here on the third dimension, but they still exist on the fourth dimension, like unicorns and dragons. And I know people are like, whoa, you're saying this, they don't exist. I've never seen one. You can't see, damn it, because you can only see a certain level of the UV spectrum. You see, that's what you're not a scientist. You see, you're dealing in emotion, saying that, you know what I'm saying, that somebody's crazy because they said they've seen a dragon or a unicorn or something, because you don't know what type of being that this particular person was, especially if they're a child. Because these children that are coming back now, like your crystal children, which I did a video on, they can see into the fourth dimension. They can see dragons and unicorns. They can see energy. You see, they can see auras around people. So just because you can't see it, because you are not that type of being, or because you've calcified your pineal gland, you've been here so long in so many incarnations, you forgot about your higher senses, don't try to put it off on the next person like they can't see it. You know what I'm saying? Because there are children out here that can see into the fourth dimension, and they can see the unicorns, and they can see the dragons, you see, and they can see the fairies and the leprechauns and all of this type of stuff, and the reptilians and all of that, you see. So I know what I'm talking about, because I get emails every day where people are seeing this stuff, and people that don't know each other from one part of the world have the same visions of people that don't know each other from the other side of the globe. So you can't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, because of the fact that I listen to the people, you see, and the people send me emails every day talking about this stuff. So it's not like I'm just sitting here making this stuff up. You know what I'm saying? People having these experiences, and this is just based off of me being public, because I had my own experiences before I ever went public talking about this information to prove for myself that I know that this stuff exists. So I'm not here on YouTube to prove anything. This is not a proof pill, or this is not a proof product, meaning that I'm not here to give you a product that proves something to you. If you want proof, then go find the proof, research it. If you want proof about what's going on here, then tap into the paranormal, start to do rituals, and ask the spirit realm to reveal itself to you. Then you'll get proof, because you can't really get proof when it comes to spiritual information unless you ask for the validation from the spiritual world. That's how your proof comes. You have to ask the ancestors. You can't go read a book and say, oh, that's proof that the spiritual world works. Because the spiritual world can't be validated by the material world because it's older than it. The material world was birthed from the spiritual world. So you can't go to the material world to prove the spiritual world. You have to go to the spiritual world to prove the spiritual world. So you have to go to your ancestors. You have to go to those beings that you can't see and ask them to prove themselves to you. You see, if you want to believe in this stuff, you need proof for those people that need that proof. You see, but some people are past that. And they need to be walked in out of certain information and walked into certain information. So that's what I do my videos for, just simply to provide information. You can disagree with it, that's fine. It's simply to provide information. So I just want to throw that out there. So that's basically dealing with the animal spirits. I mean, like I said, you have the Neteru, which were the energy, as far as the elements and the animals, and then they eventually became anthropomorphic over time, and the images changed, just like the image of Christ has changed so many times over the last 2,000 years, just like the image of Muhammad has changed. Some people say he's black, some people say he's white, just like the image of all these different figures have changed so many times. Buddha, Krishna, all of them. The images have changed. Well, same thing that happened with the Neteru. The images have changed. They used to be animals. So when you deal with them, you want to work with the animal mostly. You can work with the Neteru by just simply working with those particular nature spirits that they represent. You want to work with Heru, work with the falcon. You see, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You want to work with Sekhmet, then work with the lioness. That's how you do it. So I hope this helps just to walk people into the information, to help them to separate the difference between the Neteru and the Annunaki. Again, the Annunaki are aliens basically that came down, that were sent on a mission, and that eventually put their images into the images of the Neteru, and the Neteru, the nature spirits, became them. You see, it became them. But before them, there were nature spirits. Before they came to this planet, there were nature spirits. Like I said, they put their images into it. The Homo erectus species was working with the nature spirits millions of years ago. Time never was where it wasn't beings that were intelligent on this planet. They're just different versions of different beings. Just like in the Matrix, when the architect said that there were 6 different versions before Neo, there's been 6 different versions of humans before this version of us. So 6 or more. I'm just using that as, you know, a term to let you know that basically what you think about your history, the things that you think you know based on what you learned in school, based on what you learned in some rap song, based on what you learned on TV, or even the internet, might not be true. You need to start doing your research, and the best way to start is by researching the indigenous peoples. This is how I basically researched and learned a lot of information from researching the indigenous tribes. Instead of looking to what modern science had to say, I looked to what the indigenous tribes had to say. And I weighed that out and balanced that out with what modern science had to say. And this is how I came up with my conclusions, a lot of my opinions and my views. Now, as far as, I want to throw this in here too about astrology. The same thing is true of astrology. Astrology deals with the animal spirits, and I talked about this before. So even some of your anthropomorphic pics now and glyphs now in astrology were once animals. Were once animals, and they became anthropomorphic over time. So man eventually put, you know, man, whether it's man from the future or man in the now, puts his image on everything so that he can feel like he's superior, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, and I want to point that out too. There's nothing wrong with the fact that the images became physical and anthropomorphic over time. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just pointing out the fact that that's what happened, because some people think that the anthropomorphic version came first, and it didn't. That's what I'm pointing out. Not to say about wrong or right. Remember, I remain in the middle, and I remain balanced. I simply provide information. So I thank you for watching this video, and until we meet again, I'll leave you guys in peace and love.